Hey, good morning. Y'all give me just a second here. Good morning. Bowl games start today. So, I guess we need to talk about those, huh? Are y'all gonna watch any of these games today? I'm not gonna lie. I'll watch some of them just because they're the only ones on. But there's not really that many good games today. One ranked team is playing today. Who is that? Boise State. What's up, Carrington? Boise State's playing Oregon, so uh, that's the only ranked game today. Uh, Colorado State has an interesting game. I'll probably watch some of that. Uh, well, somebody's about to get banned here. Hold on. Joe, you're a moderator. You should have took care of that dude. You're slacking. Now you got me having to do it now. Should I put him in timeout or just block him? Uh, I'm just gonna block that. That's ridiculous. All right, he's gone. Sorry about that for any of y'all. Joe, you gotta get on the ball, buddy. You should have banded that guy. Whoever was talking like that. Yeah, no bigotry, no homophobia. Come on. You want to argue with each other and call each other stupid and stuff like that? That's fine. Audio low, I turn it up. Y'all got to help me out here. I'm trying something new today, so y'all let me know if that sounds any better. Uh, and I'm working on something else too for the audio, but it'll be a week or so. Yeah, before that happens. But working on something new. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, I blocked him. He's gone. So but anyway, so what's up with the games today? Y'all tell me. Are there any games at all today y'all are interested in watching? Let me know. Like I said, I'll watch some of them just because they're the only ones on today. But I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm going to see the new Star Wars movie today. And honestly, I'm more interested in the Star Wars movie today than I am any of the bowl games. Uh, Joe, you gonna take care of that? Thank you, Joe. Yeah. 15 and 0 in 2000. Okay, so Boot Gang. okay, so now we're not even talking about wait till next year. We're talking about wait till 2 next years from now. Good luck with that, Boonk. Let me know how that works out for you. But yeah, what's up, Peyton? Uh, Mr. Duttweiler, how are you, sir? Mr. Carrington, 6 cent soldiers. Yeah, time's running out for football season. You know, I almost look at this weekend like I look at like the first weekend of college football, right? You'll watch almost anything just because you're so excited to have some college football. And that's kind of how I feel today with time running out. Like you said, we don't have very many more opportunities. Uh, Jesus, how many accounts does this guy have? Uh, anyway, yeah, not very many more opportunities to get our college football fix in. So I'll watch some today for sure. But let's just be real. Not really very entertaining matchups today. Uh, what's up, David? Yeah, you're okay. I'm going to see it at 1 o'clock with Lou Jr. We rewatched The Force Awakens last night. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I don't even I really don't care. People call you a nerd or something if you if you say you're a Star Wars fan or whatever. But the original Star Wars trilogy in the late 70s and early 80s, that was really the first movie series that I ever got hooked on when I was a kid. I remember seeing Return of the Jedi in the movie theater when I was, I mean, I don't, what was I, 5 or 6 years old maybe. Uh, but I've just been a huge fan of those movies forever. The 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 second trilogy that they put out was disappointing. Uh, I mean, I watched them. I saw them all in the theater the weekend they came out, but they were a little bit disappointing. I did think The Force Awakens was better than any movie of the second trilogy that came out for sure. And I'm hoping this new one is even better. So yeah, I'll be going to see it. If you're in the comment section and you've seen the new Star Wars movie already, don't put any spoilers or anything like that in there. If I see one or if a moderator sees any Star Wars spoilers in there, then we're gonna put you in timeout. Don't ruin it for people who haven't seen it yet. What's up, Sean? David? George Lucas is here. George Lucas says the new Star Wars was great. Thanks, George. I'll take your word for it, buddy. Mr. Duttweiler saw the first Star Wars in 1977. Yeah, I think you're a little bit older than Uncle Lou is. I was born in '78, so I saw the third one, Return of the Jedi, probably uh, whenever it came out. So however old I was then, like I said, 4 or 5. Uh, oh, Sean says this one's great. Okay, that's good news. No, I'm not going to lose the handheld thing. What I'm going to do, there's a lot of changes going on the Uncle Lou channel right now. And really what I'm doing with this stream this morning is testing out something new for the live streams. But there's a daily show coming very soon. A daily Uncle Lou show coming very soon. Um, I'm not sure how much I really can say about it right now. It'll be on this channel on YouTube, of course. There is a sponsor for the show, um, and anyway, so I needed to make it look a little bit more professional for the daily show type thing that's coming. Um, but the regular videos, reaction videos, pregame, postgame, halftime videos, breaking news videos, all those things are still going to be the same old. Uncle Lou holds up his cell phone, and yells and screams and reacts and overreacts and all that. That is not changing at all. Um, so don't worry. Even the video I did yesterday where the camera was mounted in a still position, those aren't. That's not replacing the video I did yesterday about the Justin Fields situation. That's not replacing the handheld reaction videos that really are my favorite to do, honestly. They're the easiest to do. They're the quickest to do. There's no editing or anything like that involved in any of those videos. It's literally just hit record and start yelling. So, I mean, those are by far the easiest to do. Things like this, things with characters in them, stuff where there's a lot of, pre-production or post-production, editing, that sort of thing. Those things take a long time to do. So the handheld, let me just yell and scream for a few minutes. I love those videos. Those are not going away, but the majority of the videos are still going to be that. Um, but um, that type of video just doesn't work for some of the other things that are coming along now, like this daily show. I need a name too. I probably will still take phone calls on this new show, but it's not going to be all phone calls like the Tell Me How You Feel show was. A lot of you probably are familiar with that. I don't know, a dozen or so of those over the last year or whatever. Um, and those were popular too, and people liked those. So on this new show, I'll probably incorporate some of that into the show, but the entire show is not going to be just phone calls. I'm also bringing back the EA Sports NCAA football series soon, uh, like as in next week type soon. And so we'll do simulations of all the big bowl games. So, we'll do simulations of Georgia versus Oklahoma. We'll do Alabama and Clemson. I'll have all the updated rosters so the teams will be the current teams now, not just the Georgia team like I had before. I went through and redid the Georgia team before, but when I would play, say, South Carolina or whatever, it was the South Carolina team from 2014, the last year that game was made. These are going to have, the new ones will have entire updated rosters for every team, so we can play whatever bowl games we want, whatever matchups we want. Those will be at night every time. The college football series, the simulations, the EA Sports NCAA series, that will be at night every single time. The daily show, the time for that is up in the air. And it may not be every day in the beginning. It may start out at 2 or 3 days a week, something like that. I'm keeping the Saturday morning show too. So it will be a Saturday morning show at 9 or about 9 every Saturday. And then 2 or 3 other shows during the week. And I'm in the process of figuring out the time on that now. Keep in mind, if I do it at a time that you can't watch, and you message me or whatever, and you say, Lou, can you do it at 6 o'clock so I can watch? Well, if I do it at 6, then someone else is going to message me asking me to do it at a different time. I'm going to try to pick a time that works for the most amount of people. So in the beginning, the days and times may fluctuate a little bit. I may do it for a week or two with different days and different times. And then once I've got a couple of weeks worth of shows to go back and look at, I can check the live views versus the views that come after the show is posted to YouTube. And I can decide on a time that seems to be working the best for the most amount of people. Boot Gang says USC Junior wins the East next season. I hate talking about next season already when Georgia's got the biggest game in 35 years coming up here in 2 weeks. But I do think South Carolina will be an above average team next year. Wouldn't surprise me if they contended for the East, although obviously I don't think they're going to win it, but it wouldn't shock me at all to see South Carolina come in second in the East next year. Did you open with Tool? No, I can't. It's hard to put music on any video at all and get away with it on YouTube. It's almost impossible to do it on a live stream. And the problem with trying it on a live stream is it, Google could shut the live stream down right in the middle of me doing it if they detect a copyrighted song. On the uploads that I do, I can upload the video, and then before I make it public, I can already see whether YouTube's going to give me a problem or a hassle about it or not. With the live, I don't have that. So there will probably be some sort of music or something in the intro of the live show that's coming, but it most likely won't be Tool. I'll probably have to use some sort of royalty-free or copyright-free music for that. Cubby Knoll says, is Mullen recruiting or not? I say nah, he's not. He ran off his highest rated recruit that he had committed for the 2018 class. Matt Corral was the highest rated player Florida had committed. What's up, Superman? Matt Corral was the highest rated player that Florida had committed for the 2018 class. He's gone now. Um, I saw a lot of comments yesterday on my Justin Fields video from Florida fans saying, "Oh, we don't even want Justin Fields. We're going after Emory Jones." Well, the reason I made that video is because of Florida fans telling me that they're getting Justin Fields. So, those individual Florida fans may feel like they're getting Emory Jones, but believe me, I've heard from plenty of Florida fans telling me over the last week that Mullen is going after Fields and getting him. That Fields fits better with what Mullen wants to do than with what UGA is doing, and blah blah blah. I don't believe that. I think Fields is all dog. I do think Florida has a better chance of landing Emory Jones. He's committed, I think, to Ohio State right now. So I don't know, kind of hard to pull him away from there. They've had success with that style of quarterback too, but we'll see. I get it that Matt Corral was more of a pro style type deal than what Dan Mullen is used to. But he was mobile. Was he a dual threat? No. Could he run around like Justin Fields or Emory Jones? No. But he was mobile. He was like a Jake Fromm type. Not comparing the two in terms of talent or ability, but in terms of their style. Jake Fromm is a pro style quarterback, but he's pretty mobile. Um, like compared to Jacob Eason, for example. Eason's got a better arm, but the guy's a statue. It looks like he's running around with two cinder blocks tied to his feet. Fromm's not that. Matt Corral is not that. They're more mobile, than a lot of pocket passers or pro style quarterbacks. Not dual threat though. It just surprised me that a quarterback ranked that high would go to Ole Miss. I get the whole he doesn't fit with Mullen thing. Fine, I'll give you that. I just can't see a pro style quarterback of that highly rated. Um, I mean, he's a top 10 quarterback nationally. I don't understand the going to Ole Miss thing with the scholarship restrictions and bowl bans and just the whole mess that's going on there. But anyway, uh, yeah, the RPO. The thing about the RPO, and I look, I say this all the time. I am by no means a recruiting expert. Okay, I spend the majority of my time when it comes to college football focusing on players that are on Georgia's team now. I rely on other people for most of my recruiting information. Okay, so and my point of mentioning that is I don't really know how, as far as Justin Fields and RPOs and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we could run RPOs with Eason, right? A lot of running RPOs is up here. It's not only having the ability to do it, but it's knowing what to do. Hand it off or not, throw it or those sorts of things. And so is that what Fields runs in high school? I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. I've seen his highlight films. I don't study these high school recruits like a lot of these other people do. To be honest, I just don't have time. Like I said, I devote most of my time to what's going on with the kids that are actually on Georgia right now. Not to say that it's a waste of time to focus on recruits. That's just not, I just choose to focus more on what we have now. And then there's other people that know way more about recruiting and who fits in what types of schemes and stuff like that than I do. Steve Hammonds, Auburn better beat UCF with Gus's $7 million a year salary. Yeah, I I think Auburn wins that game, unless Auburn is just so demoralized and demotivated from not making the playoff or winning the SEC that they just come out and lay an egg. But there's no way I think UCF is a better team than Auburn. I just don't believe that. Um, what's going on with Scott Frost? Is he going to coach Central Florida or not? Hard to get him to nail that. He says he wants to, but he's just got to get everything worked out and blah blah. So I don't know. We'll see. Um, we'll see. I think it hurts Central Florida if they don't have Scott Frost and that whole staff coaching them up for the bowl game. I mean, you can't give Scott Frost all the credit for Central Florida, right? Going undefeated, and then act like it won't matter if Scott Frost isn't there to coach the bowl game against the top 10 Auburn team. I mean, you can't have it both ways. Which is it? Is Scott Frost an elite coach, and he's the reason Central Florida went from 0-12 2 years ago to 13-0 this year? or does it just not matter? Of course it matters. Uh, I love when the show starts with Tool. We got the crowd pump, play Lou to my crowd. Yeah. And like I said, you'll still hear plenty of Tool on this channel. All the edited videos that I do to upload later, I will still try to put Tool in as many of those videos as I can. It's just the live videos are going to be hard for me to do. I did some test streams yesterday, just marked as private so no one could see them but me, and I played some music on them, Tool. A couple of different parts of a couple of different songs, and every single one got flagged by YouTube. I don't know why their algorithm or whatever it is they use picks it up and points it out or whatever on live videos, but lets it go on some of my uploaded videos. I really don't know. Yeah, Natrez failed a drug test. That's the rumor, that he failed a police drug test, but he passed a UGA drug test. So I don't know. No idea on that. Are used to be a pro. Are used to be a pro NCAA 14 gamer. Do you mean you? I don't know. Uh, Clemson versus Georgia in Atlanta. Well, obviously I'm picking Georgia to win the Rose Bowl. I'll have an official pick on the Sugar Bowl, Alabama versus Clemson, a couple of days before that game, probably. I've done a video, like my initial thoughts, reactions, just sort of, my first instincts or whatever on the game, but I didn't give a pick on it. But I will give a pick on that game, obviously, when it comes up the week before. So, yeah. And that's the same with all the games: Central Florida and Auburn, South Carolina and Michigan, all those games. Yeah, I'll be giving picks and doing an in-depth thing on all those games when they start coming up. I didn't do a video previewing the games today because, like I mentioned in the beginning, they're just not worth it. I mean, I can take a look. They're just not worth it. They're just not. Grambling State versus North Carolina A&T. I'll go Grambling State there. I feel like I have to. Troy versus North Texas. I'm going to go with Troy there. Obviously, they're better than LSU. They should be able to beat something called North Texas. Yeah. Georgia State versus Western Kentucky. I'd love to root for the home team here, but I'm going to have to go with Western Kentucky in that one. Boise State versus Oregon is the biggest game of the day. Oregon lost their head coach. Yeah, I still think they find a way to win it, though. I'm going to go with Oregon in that one. Colorado State versus Marshall. I think this has potential to be one of the best games of the day. I'm going to go with Colorado State. Just, salute Mike Bobo. Good luck, sir. Yeah, Middle Tennessee versus Arkansas State. I'll go with Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee is what, the third, fourth best team in the state of Tennessee? Tennessee's the fifth or the sixth best. Middle Tennessee State versus Tennessee would have been an interesting matchup, but unfortunately Tennessee's not bowl eligible because they're terrible. Yeah. And then you got what? That's it today, ain't it? Yeah, that's it today. The one at the bottom is what, Tuesday or something? Florida Atlantic versus Akron. That was at the Lane Kiffin Bowl. He's at Florida Atlantic, right? I'll go with Lane Kiffin in that one. So yeah. Notre Dame versus LSU in the Citrus Bowl. Any thoughts on that? Taylor Payton wants to know. Yeah, I have some thoughts on that. If I was an NFL general manager or worked in a personnel department for any NFL team, I would definitely be at that game or send some people to that game. Even though, neither one of those teams, I guess, really had the type of season they were hoping they would have or whatever. Both of those teams are absolutely loaded with NFL talent. Notre Dame's got probably 3 offensive linemen that are going to get drafted. Great offensive line there. And of course, LSU is just loaded on both sides of the ball every single year with NFL talent. Um, LSU's what, in the top 3 in terms of number of players in the NFL right now. So, I know LSU fans have been disappointed with the way things have gone the last few years of Les Miles, and then this year with Orgeron or whatever, not really being able to get over the hump there in the SEC West and beat Nick Saban in Alabama. But you guys have definitely had the players, that's for sure. You're loaded with NFL players every single year. The NFL loves LSU players. So that'll be a good game to watch. This is a rematch from a bowl game from a few years ago. Malik Zaire, the Florida quarterback from this year, right? What was he, third string or something? But he played a little bit. Transferred to Florida this year, right, from Notre Dame. Didn't play much at Notre Dame. Didn't play last year. Injured the year before. But the year before that, he went absolutely ham in a bowl game against LSU. I mean, he just ran all over LSU in that bowl game, which was by far the highlight of his college career, Malik Zaire, because he really didn't do anything at all after that. So I do think that'll be a good game, an interesting game. I mean, all the SEC games are interesting to me. That just because that's my primary focus. Is SEC. So all of the SEC games are interesting to me on one level or another, and I'll watch all or some of every single SEC bowl game without question. Dogfan25, do you think there's going to be any more assistants poached after this coaching debacle? It could happen. I mean, I hate it too. I'd love, look, listen, we're 12-1 and we won the SEC and we're in the playoff. So obviously you want to keep all your coaches for next year, right? I mean, I do too. But the reality of the situation is every single year coaches get fired, right? And where do they tend to look for replacements? Winning programs. I mean, Alabama's been going through this forever and a day. They lose coordinators all the time. They lose assistants all the time. It just happens. Do I think it's going to have that big of an impact on UGA on the field next year? No, I don't. As long as we have Kirby, I feel like the defense is going to be okay. As far as I have heard, no one's coming after Chaney. And I know there's some people out there that aren't the biggest Chaney fans or whatever. I've been on his side from the beginning. Not that I thought he was necessarily doing an amazing job or anything like that, but look, you have to look what he had to work with. 2 years at Georgia, both years true freshman quarterbacks. Last year, worst offensive line in the SEC by a mile. This year, offensive line a little bit improved, still nowhere near the elite level. I'm not knocking UJ's offensive line. I think the offensive line played pretty good this year. But if you look at some of the other elite type teams, Alabama, for example, Oklahoma's got a good offensive line. I talked about Notre Dame. I don't think we're on that level in terms of offensive line. Receivers, we haven't really had an elite true number one receiver in the 2 years Chaney's been there. I know Wims played good this year. Godwin had some good catches and stuff like that. But, we don't have that, 6'2", 6'3" burner, who can run every route in the tree, make every catch. We haven't had that in a long time. And that's hard to get. Not knocking our receivers. I love Wims. Love Godwin. I even like Ridley. I think we've got some young guys that can step up next year. Nicole came on strong second half of the season once he learned how to, hang on to the ball. But my point is, outside of our running back situation, I don't think Chaney has had elite players at the other positions to work with. So I felt like Chaney was getting an unfair rap, especially last year. He got a lot of the blame for what went wrong last year, and I just didn't feel like that was fair. I thought it was too early, too soon to say that. When Eason went down this year, I said, oh, here we go again. Another freshman quarterback. I don't feel like it's fair to judge an offensive coordinator, with freshman quarterbacks, first, second year in the system as a coordinator. Anyway, that's a long, drawn out way of saying that I was more than happy with what Chaney did this year. I mean, look, what do we average? 35 points a game this year. I mean, hard to complain about your offensive coordinator when you're averaging 35 points a game, 34, whatever it was we averaged. Hard to complain about the offensive coordinator. Look, when you play bad or you lose, people are gonna. I do it too. You want to blame somebody. I look. Lord knows I do it too. when I step back and look at the overall picture of what's happened with Chaney, I just feel like he's done a good job with what he's been given to work with at UGA. But back to the assistants thing. Would it shock me if we lost another assistant or two? No, it wouldn't. Do I expect it to happen? No. Most of the coaches that are going to be fired have already been fired. Replacement head coaches have been named, and they're starting to round their staffs out. And I haven't heard anything in the last few days about any more UGA coaches being interviewed or mentioned for any positions anywhere else. But that could change at any time. Did Cade Mays make it to Athens this weekend? From what I have been told, he is going to Athens this weekend. He's making his decision on Wednesday, which reminds me there'll definitely be a live show on Wednesday. Wednesday is early signing day. Okay. There's a 3-day early signing day period this year, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. They've never had that before. You used to have to wait till signing day in February before you could sign with a team. They've changed that starting this year. They give you 3 days in December that you can go ahead and sign if you want to. Cade Mays will be committing on Wednesday at 2:30 or 3. What's the other guy's name? Brenton Cox, is that his name? Brendan Cox? I hope I'm getting that right. He's also committing on Wednesday at 2:30 or 3. Those are the two big names for UGA fans to look for on Wednesday. Those two names. I will be live streaming for that. I think we get both. Jamari Sawyer was supposed to commit early. He's changed his mind from what I've been told. Rumors that you hear now is he's changed his mind. He's no longer going to be committing during the early signing period in December. He's going to wait till February. That's not great news for UGA because I've been convinced by a lot of people that he was 100% sold on the Dogs for about 2 months now, 6 weeks now. If that's the case, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and make it official. So I don't know. Clemson's creeping in on some of these guys, Cade Mays in particular, Jamari Sawyer, who knows? So we'll see. But Cade Mays and Brendan Cox are the two that are uncommitted right now that I think will commit to UGA on Wednesday, and they're both announcing on Wednesday at 2:30 or 3. I'll be live streaming for that, and anything else that happens on that Wednesday for signing day. Some of the other players that are already committed, they may sign or whatever. I'm talking about just players that are uncommitted right now. So yeah, I think Cox is UGA too. Parker Fields is all dog. I think so too. Cook, I want to get Cook because I like getting 2 running backs a year. It's not going to hurt my feelings if Cook flips somewhere else. So I'm just going to be honest with you. We're loaded at the running back position. And listen, we're up against a wall here with our numbers. You're only allowed to sign 25 players. Okay, they've changed that too. It doesn't matter how many players are. You could sign over 25 before under certain conditions. Not anymore. 25 is the most you can sign. If we lose Cook and replace Cook with an O lineman or a D lineman, I'm okay with that. I don't want to lose Cook. That's not what I'm saying. But, compared to like a Justin Fields, a Zamir White, somebody like that, I would lose my mind if we were to lose one of those two people. Okay. If we lose James Cook, it's not going to be the end of the world as far as I'm concerned. Bling Bling Holmes, Lou, what's the key to beat OU? Long drives on offense and get off the field on 3rd downs on defense. I think it's really that simple. Oklahoma's had a hard time stopping the run this year. They're 40th against the run in a league, the Big 12, that doesn't run the ball. So they do not have a good run defense. They're 40th. They give up almost as many rush yards per game as UGA averages. That's bad news for Oklahoma's defense. I think Georgia will be able to run the ball at will on Oklahoma. I do not think Oklahoma's defense is going to be able to stop the run. Now, I also don't think that Georgia's defense is going to be able to stop Baker Mayfield and shut him down. I don't think that's going to happen at all. Baker Mayfield's going to get his yards. He's going to get some touchdowns. Oklahoma's going to move the ball. That's going to happen. We have to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. If Oklahoma runs on 1st down for no gain and throws an incomplete pass on 2nd down and we've got them at 3rd and 10, we have to have a stop there and get off the field. Okay. We need If Oklahoma punts the ball 4 times in this game, I think they lose. We need to make Oklahoma punt 2 or 3 times in the first half, 2 or 3 times in the second half. When we have the ball, we've got to run, bleed time off the clock, keep Baker Mayfield on the sideline. Um, Play action passes with Jake Fromm. Look, I know I complained all year, or not really complained, but expressed some concern all year about Jake Fromm only throwing the ball 10, 12, 14 times a game or whatever. I actually think in this matchup against Oklahoma, that's a recipe for success. If Jake Fromm is something like 12 of 16 for 160 yards and a touchdown or two, it's a good chance Georgia won the game, okay? Because that means the running game was working like we all think it will. Um, and Fromm was able to only pass, play action pass. In other words, Fromm's at his best when he's passing when we want to, not when we have to or need to. And I think that's the recipe for success for this game. Run. Oklahoma is not good against the run. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to run the ball right down their throat, right around the edge, around outside, inside, off tackle. We should be able to run and do whatever we want to do running the ball against Oklahoma, which should open up play action pass. Give Fromm some easy passes like we did in the beginning of the Auburn game. Swing passes to Swift, Michelle, Chubb, those 4 or 5 yard hitch routes to the outside, the 7, 8 yard out routes to the outside, things like that. Get him warmed up. Run. Play action over the top 2 or 3 times. But I really think that's the way to beat Oklahoma. Georgia's got the right kind of offense, I think, to beat Oklahoma. You're not going to win a shootout with Oklahoma. We saw that all year long in the Big 12, right? Look at the Oklahoma State game. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are still scoring touchdowns in that game. The final score was what, 70 something to 60 something, 60 something to 50 something, whatever. Georgia's not beating anybody in a shootout. That's number one. But I don't think anybody could beat Oklahoma in a shootout. Baker Mayfield has his issues, don't we all? He's an elite college quarterback. Okay, you're not winning the shootout there. Run the ball, keep him on the sideline, keep Baker Mayfield off the field, right? And then on defense, create a turnover or two, do something on special teams, and get off the field when it's 3rd and long. Make a play when you have to, right? Pressure on Mayfield. I saw a stat the other day. Mayfield has lost, 4 or 5 college games in his career. Every time he's lost, Oklahoma has lost the turnover battle. So let's avoid turnovers, which we've been great at all year, and let's force 1 or 2. Run the ball, keep Baker Mayfield on the sideline, get off the field on 3rd down on defense, and Georgia wins the game. Let's see. Oklahoma State was close, but have no defense. I mean, that's the story in the Big 12, right? That's the story. No defense. I've been saying that all year. So, a lot of Oklahoma fans have just found UNCLELOU here recently over the last couple of weeks since I made that Oklahoma video. But a lot of y'all have been around for a while, and you've heard me say the same thing all year. Look, I picked Oklahoma to win the Big 12 about halfway through the season. I think I picked Oklahoma State in the preseason. Swapped to Oklahoma about midway through the season. It was obvious at that point they were the best team in the Big 12. But I've said the same thing about the Big 12 really for about 2.5 years, 3 years now, 3 seasons now. Great offenses, air raid, air it out, scoring 50, 60, 70 points a game, but no defense out there. I've been saying that over and over and over again for years. So it's got nothing to do with the fact that they're now playing Georgia. That's just got nothing to do with it. That's been my opinion and my feelings on the Big 12 for 2 or 3 years now, and I still feel that way. How do you feel about Alabama and Clemson these days? I think it's a good game. Listen, it's hard to beat Nick Saban under any circumstances, okay? And I know Clemson beat them last year, and I know Alabama has looked what's the word I'm looking for here? Average. At times this year. I get that. It's hard to beat Alabama when you're giving Nick Saban a month to prepare. Go back and look at last year's Clemson-Alabama game, okay? That was a hell of a game, right? Came down to the end. Clemson scored at the very end to win that game, right? Look at the stat line on that game. Clemson threw for 410 yards passing. Clemson had 410 yards passing and beat Alabama on a last second play. I don't think Clemson's got a great offense, okay? They've got playmakers at every level, offensive line, running back, wide receiver. The quarterback even has looked okay at times. They're not beating Alabama by lining up and running the ball. They're not doing it. They're not. They're just not. It took 410 yards passing to beat Alabama in the championship game last year. Anybody out there think Alabama is giving up, or anybody out there think Kelly Bryant is throwing for 410 yards against Alabama? Raise your hand. Now take that same hand, move it around back of you like this, and slap yourself in the back of the head. Not happening. I'm not saying Clemson won't win. I'll make a pick on it the week of the game. But if I'm a Clemson fan right now, I'm pretty pissed off at the playoff committee if I'm a Clemson fan. If I'm a Clemson fan, I want Ohio State. If I'm a Clemson fan, I do not want to play Alabama with a month to prepare. I'm just being honest about it. Yes, they looked average this year. Yes, Jalen Hurts is a terrible quarterback. Yes, they had a ton of injuries the last couple of weeks of the season. It's just, but this is just bad luck for Clemson, in my opinion. I think Clemson deserves the #1 ranking that they have right now. But Alabama's got a month to get all those linebackers healthy. Minkah Fitzpatrick healthy. All those defensive playmakers should be healthy going into the Sugar Bowl here in a couple of weeks. Nick Saban has a month to game plan for you. I would be upset if I was a Clemson fan. Okay, I'd be protesting the playoff committee. I was rooting for Ohio State to get in if I'm a Tater. I'm not. I'm just being real with you. Kansas State ran for 250 yards on OU. Yeah, I mean, Vanderbilt shut Kansas State down. OU did not. Vanderbilt beat Kansas State 14-7. Okay, shut them down. I'm not impressed with Oklahoma's defense. I mean, they're above. They're not a bad defense. Okay, Oklahoma. It's not like Oklahoma's defense is terrible. That's not what I'm saying. But the stats are what they are. You can't just say, well, what about this game and that game and this game? No, this is over the course of the entire season, and you're 40th, okay, 40th against the run. That's just not good news. If you're an Oklahoma fan and you're looking at this matchup with UGA, it's just not. And Oklahoma fans can get in the comment section and they can post the score of the Ohio State game as many times as they want to. As many times as they want to, they can do that. That's fine. That has nothing to do with the running game you're going to see from the University of Georgia on New Year's Day. You have not seen anything like it, and you won't see anything like it anywhere in the Big 12 or at Ohio State, okay, or any other team that you've played. You just won't. You just won't, okay? We've got running backs that will be playing in the fourth quarter that have only had 4 or 5 carries the whole game that are better than any running back you've faced all year long. That's just the reality of the situation. Don't take Uncle Lou's word for it. Read some articles written by neutral parties about Georgia's running backs, okay? They are elite. Elite. Our third string running back is already listed as the #2 favorite to win the Heisman next year. Okay, he's that good. Now, that's not going to happen. A Georgia running back's not winning the Heisman because we have too many of them. Okay, so you look at Chubb and Michelle this year. What do they average? 12, 13 carries a game? You've got running backs that get that in a quarter at other schools because it's the only running back they have. And then guess what happens? Kerryon Johnson happens. Yeah, you wear them out. Georgia doesn't have that problem. I'm telling you right now, if this game is close going into the fourth quarter, it's over. It's over because your defense will be wore out and Georgia will be playing a running back that's had 8, 9, 10 carries all game. Whoever it is, whether it's Chubb, Michelle, Swift, Harriet, Holyfield, those running backs won't have more than 8, 9, 10 carries entering the fourth quarter. They're fresh. Your defense will be wore down. If the game is close going into the fourth quarter, it's over at that point. It just is. And you can see every UGA game this year as exhibit 1 through 13 of that. The only loss we had was against a team that shut down our run, right? Oklahoma's not shutting down the run. They're just not. It's just not happening. So, Hoghead, I hate that 8:45 kickoff for Bama Clemson. It is a late kickoff. You got to remember, though, that game's in New Orleans, so I don't know what time zone you're in, Hoghead, but that's Central Time Zone in New Orleans, right? So that's 7:45 um, Eastern Time. So, it is what it is. What are you going to do? Yeah, what are you going to do? Georgia 5 o'clock game, but it's on the West Coast. West Coast 3 hours behind, so it's like an 8 o'clock game. Whatever. I'm not. You get what I'm saying. I don't think the time that either of these two games are played is going to be any factor or issue in the games at all. I'm sure these teams will be out there probably a week before the game, if not at least 3 or 4 days before the game. So any type of jet lag or fatigue from the time change or anything like that shouldn't be an issue or an excuse for any of these four teams playing in these playoffs, in my opinion. What's up, Cali Blue? Good morning, sir. Hoghead, you're in Knoxville. Okay, well, sorry about that, sir. I don't know if you've ever read the Constitution, specifically Bill of Rights. I forget which exact amendment it is, sir, but it guarantees you the right of free travel within the United States. So you're not legally bound to Knoxville, sir. You're free to leave. And if I was you and had any sense, that's probably what I would do. Will you go to the Rose Bowl with me, Lou? No, I won't. David Turner, 8:45 Eastern is 7:45 Central. Right. Yes. So the game is at 8:45 Eastern time. The game is at 7:45 Central time. Who thinks Michigan beats Ohio State next year? Not. Why would anybody think that? When's the last time Michigan beat Ohio State? Jim Harbaugh's never beat Ohio State. Michigan's never won their division in the Big Ten ever. Is Jamari Sawyer signing the 20th or February 7th? February. He was supposed to be signing here next week, but he has delayed that till February. Announced a couple of days ago. I don't know if he announced it or what, but anyway, that's the word on the street, and that's the rumor, is that he has delayed his announcement. He's no longer announcing during the early signing period. He's going to wait until February. So, is that true or not? I don't know. I'm just a messenger. This is what I've been told. I don't really follow recruiting that well, but I have about 5 or 6 people that I count on and rely on that will message me, or I can message them with specific questions, or I follow them on different places, Facebook and Twitter. Those are the people that I trust, and that's what they're telling me, is that Jamari Sawyer has delayed his announcement from December to February. Zach Smith, good morning, sir. Georgia could possibly have five stars. I think that number is probably correct. Hey, Uncle Lou, give a shout out to us Auburn fan Gumps. Shout out to all the Auburn fan Gumps. Not really sure what that means, though. But, yeah. Would you rather feed the ball to Chubb or Sony and give them as many carries instead of limited their time on the field? I've been back and forth on that. I think Chubb in particular is one of those running backs that tends to get better as the game goes along type of thing. And so there have been times where, now here I'll tell you one thing I don't like. Chubb comes in on first down, a different running back comes in on second down, a different running back comes in on third down, then start it all over again. I think these guys should at least be out there for 3-4 plays at a time, barring like a 60-yard run or something where they need a breather. But it's hard to complain with the strategy and the game plan that UGA has taken this year. It's paid off. If you look at the fourth quarter of games where UGA has been close or had a lead, we have just dominated with the run game in the fourth quarter. And it's because they have saved all those running backs, all those carries. Chubb has also had some health concerns. Of course, he blew out his knee, limited last year too. So, I'm sure they're trying to keep his future in mind in the NFL. Look, running backs are like tires, okay, on a car. It doesn't matter what you do. There is only so much tread on those tires. And a running back only has so many carries in him, college, NFL, whatever combined. That's it. So the game plan has worked. Hard to knock it, but there has been times this year where I've said, just keep feeding Chubb. They give Chubb's the type of running back that'll get 1 yard, 3 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, 40 yards, right? So that's my thinking. I'm like, leave him in there, let him pound, 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 and then he'll break one, right? Whereas Sony Michel's more of a quick hitter, DeAndre Swift more of a quick hitter. So it makes a little bit more sense to me to bring a Michel or a Swift in for a play or two, right? And maybe let Chubb be the workhorse. But like I said, it's hard to argue with results. It's hard to argue with the strategy and the game plan that Kirby and Chaney have taken this year with the running backs. It's paid off. It's worked. I'm just gonna have to go with them on that one. Rashawn Golden is the greatest bird shooter in SEC history. Is that the Tennessee guy who flicked off the crowd in Tuscaloosa? That was hilarious. There's a lot of good memes of that too floating around. Zach Smith. When does Nicole get a punt return or kick return for a TD? I don't know. Every single time that dude touches the ball on a kickoff or a punt return, I'm like, this is it. This is the one, right? He always seems like he's one step away from being gone. I cannot believe he has gone the whole season without breaking a single return for a touchdown, because when he gets I mean, it's like lightning in a bottle when that guy gets the ball, and he has no fear at all. And you know what else I've noticed about Nicole? There's no acceleration time with Nicole. He's like 0 to full speed. I mean, like that. I mean, he doesn't ramp up to full speed. Even on kickoffs, you'll see a lot of players field a ball around the 1 or 2 yard line, and they kind of not jog, but you can tell they're sort of 60, 70%, for the first 5 or 10 yards as they're trying to pick their hole or whatever. Not Miko. Miko catches the ball and he's gone. I mean, he's like Flash. He's here and he's gone. I mean, it's exciting to watch, and I cannot believe he has not broke a single return this year. And who knows? It could happen in the Rose Bowl, and if it does, it'll be well worth the wait, right? How do I think Georgia will do next year? They'll definitely be the favorite to win the East. Listen, regardless of what happens to Georgia this year, we could beat. Let's say we could beat Oklahoma 100 to nothing and win the national title 100 to nothing, or we could lose to Oklahoma 100 to nothing and that be it. My expectation for Georgia next year will be exactly the same no matter what happens. Win the East with no more than 2 losses, right? So no worse than 10-2 and win the East. That's my expectation for Georgia for the immediate future. Okay, if you can win the East, preferably with no losses or 1 loss, probably 2 losses though. Even if you can win the East with 0, 1, or 2 losses, then you're 1 game away from the playoff, right? The SEC championship game. So that's my expectations for Georgia. I think the media and the people like that make those preseason picks usually every April or May or whatever it is, I think they will probably say the same thing. I think Georgia will probably be the favorite to win the East, and I think Alabama will probably be the favorite to win the SEC. I don't think that will change. That's what we saw this year. Georgia was picked to win the East. Alabama was picked to win the West and then win the SEC. I think you'll see something very similar to that next offseason as well. Adam Lawrence says UJ will lose 2 games at most. They play absolutely no one out of conference. That's true. We play 3 high school teams next year and Georgia Tech. Those are our out of conference games. I don't like that. I'm just going to go ahead and say that now. I'm not looking forward to an entire off season of hearing from Big Ten, Big 12, and Pac 12 people about how the SEC doesn't play anybody and they need to quit scheduling these cupcakes. Now, this year I could argue back, right? Because we played at Notre Dame, we played Georgia Tech, even App State. Now people say, oh, App State's a high school team. But all offseason, those same people were picking App State to beat Georgia. So, I mean, that's just what it is. So I liked our schedule this year. I do not like it next year. I don't mind playing one, even 2 non-Power 5 teams a year. But I think we should obviously keep Tech. That's one Power 5 out of conference team. I think we should always play at least one other Power 5 team. That's just my opinion. It's just boring. I have absolutely no interest at all in seeing Georgia play Austin Peay. or however you pronounce it. It's not an interesting game. It'll be a blowout. It'll be a massacre, whatever word you want to use. There's no positives other than financial to the university. There's no positives in playing those games. Okay, you win 100-0, no one's impressed. They say, well, it's Austin Peay. You're supposed to win 100-0. You lose, you're the worst team ever. You're 2007 Michigan, right? Losing to Boise State or no, App State. So there's no benefit to the outcome of that game, right? The only benefit is financial because we play Austin Peay in Athens. We don't have to turn around next year and go play at Austin Peay. So you get an extra home game, which is the main reason these teams are doing it. It's not because they want to beat up on a lesser opponent. It's for the money, right? Look at Notre Dame. In order to play Notre Dame, we had to schedule what they call a home and home with Notre Dame. Okay, we give up a home game this year. We gave up a home game this year in 2017 to go play at Notre Dame. Right. Well, now in 2019, Notre Dame has to give up a home game to come play at UGA. That's how these big matchups work. That's why a lot of teams don't do, like, look, Alabama, for example. Alabama doesn't do that. They just play the high school team so that they don't have to give up a home game to play a team the next year. What do they do? They play in one of these kickoff games, right, at a neutral site. Not as good as a home game because you're having to split the revenue, but better than a home and home because you're not having to give up an entire game's worth of revenue. So that's why the teams do it. Don't let any of these teams trick you and say, oh well, we're Alabama when we're playing Florida State because we like to take on the best and play the best. No, that's not why that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because you can split the revenue as opposed to doing a home and home where you lose a one game's worth of revenue a year. That's why. But so with all that being said, though, I loved it when Georgia. I mean, Georgia's in the last 10 years, we've had home and homes with Arizona State, Oklahoma State. We got one with Notre Dame now. UCLA is coming up. I think it's in the 2020s sometime. But anyway, that's scheduled. So we've had these home and homes, and I prefer that. I don't mind the kickoff games either. I'll be honest. Financially, I don't care, right? Because it doesn't benefit or affect or hurt or help me in any way, whether Georgia plays home, away, or neutral. So whether we do a home and home or whether we do one of these kickoff games like we did with North Carolina in 2016, whatever, I'm okay with any of that. But I do not like playing 3 high school teams a year. I think it should be 2 good games. You can debate whether you think Georgia Tech's a good game or not, but let's just be real. That game's not going away. And regardless of how bad they are a Power 5 team. So, we've got the 8 conference games that we're playing a year. Okay, we play the other 6 teams in the East, then we play Auburn from the West and one other team from the West. Okay, so that's 8 conference games a year we're playing. Georgia Tech makes the 9th Power 5 team we play. I think we should play at least one more Power 5 team a year. That would put us at 10 Power 5 games. And then whatever you want to do with the other 2 games, I don't care. If you want to play high school teams, cupcakes, directional schools, whatever, you go ahead and do that. But I don't like the way it's set up for 2018 with the 3 high school teams. No. Let's see. 2018 may be all about recouping the financial investments over the last few years and rebuilding the bank. Possible, could be. Like I said, I don't know. I don't get into the X's and O's of the money behind all this stuff or whatever. I get that money is a huge factor in college football and drives a lot of the decisions, but it doesn't affect me directly. So like I said, I would rather see Georgia play an interesting game, than to beat up on Austin Peay. Bling Blang Holmes, Lou, do you agree with the playoff system? This is probably one of the questions I get asked the most, and I wrestle with the answer to this, and I sometimes change my answer depending on how I'm feeling on a certain day or whatever. I'm old enough to remember when we didn't even have the BCS, okay? So I think to have any conversation about the playoff system today, or whether it should change or if you want it to change, I think you have to go back to when we literally had nothing but bowl games. And the bowl games were not, these bowl committees weren't picking, they weren't trying to pick a national title game. They weren't trying to pit, you know, the best team against the number 2 team and the 3. No, these major bowls, they all had conference tie-ins, right? Every year, whoever run the Pac-12 was going to play whoever won the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl. It didn't matter. Now, if you got lucky and those teams were ranked 1 and 2, then it was sort of a national title game. But a lot of years, you'd have, you know, the winner of the Rose Bowl ranked, the winner of the Pac-12 was ranked 11th, and the winner of the Big Ten was ranked 20th, and that was your Rose Bowl, right? Well, then the BCS came along, and they had the computers and formulas and all this kind of stuff, and it determined what the top 2 teams were, and those 2 teams played a national title game, and that worked for a while, right? And then Alabama and LSU played in the BCS national title game 10 years ago, whenever it was now, and people just threw a complete hissy fit, right? This is ridiculous. How can you put two? Not only are you putting 2 teams from the same conference, the same division in the conference, and they've already played, right? And people just lost their mind, especially outside of the SEC. And that was really the death of the BCS right there. I know it didn't immediately change. That was because of TV contracts and things like that that had already been signed through 2013, 2014, right? So that worked for a while. And then people said, well, this is ridiculous. You know, how can you pick 2 teams out of 130 and say they're definitely the best, right? No, we got to have 4 teams. We got to have 4. So then they said they come up with this playoff now, right? 4. They got a committee, no more computers. These committees, you know, people, they sit in a room. It's athletic directors from different places and ex-coaches and this kind of thing. And they sit in a room and they come up with a poll every week starting in the end of October, and they say these are the best teams, and they rank them. And at the end, they say, okay, these are the 4, and then 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3, right? And you got the same thing now that you have with the BCS. In the BCS, whoever was ranked 3rd every single year screamed bloody murder. And I know because it happened to UGA a time or two. Okay. Anyway, that's don't get me started on that. Now you got the same thing here with the 5th or the 6th or the 7th ranked team. The committee didn't do themselves any favors either when they came out the week before they put their final poll out. The committee comes out and says there is very little difference between number 4 and number 7. Well, if there's very little difference, then how did you in Ohio and then Ohio State goes and beats a top 4 Wisconsin team, right? And you don't even move them ahead of Alabama? I mean, anyway, the point is, I think Alabama deserved it over Ohio State. I'm just saying the committee, they're flip-floppy, they're washy. So you got a lot of people saying, let's go to 8 teams, right? Let's double it and go to 8. I'm not necessarily against that. Here's my fear. Okay? I'm a college football fan, not an NFL fan. I'll watch some NFL football, but even when I watch the NFL, I'm not really rooting for teams. I'm rooting for players, specific players that I saw or liked in college, whether they went to Georgia or they went somewhere else and I was just impressed with them while they were in college or whatever. That's why I watch the NFL. I don't, listen, week 2, week 3, week 4 in the NFL mean nothing. I don't want to see that happen to college football. To me, college football is the greatest sport on planet Earth. And if you just keep expanding this playoff thing, trying to get more and more like the NFL, I just feel like they're going to ruin it. I'm not saying 4 is the perfect answer. What I'm saying is the 4-team playoff is better than the BCS. The BCS was better than nothing, right? Let's enjoy the 4 teams for a few years. And some people are going to say, well, that's easy for Lou to say. Georgia's in the top 4. They've benefited from, they're in the SEC. They benefit from this 4-team thing because they're going to get in if they win the SEC, whereas the Big 12 gets left out. Pac-12 gets left out. Now, this year, the Big 10 gets left out. Like I said, there was years in the BCS when Georgia was the team that got left out, okay? So it could happen. It could happen next year. Who knows? I'm just saying, let's enjoy what we have for a few years before we start trying to just crumple it all up, throw it away, and go to a 6, an 8, a 12. I mean, where do you stop here? You know, people want to go to 8 teams and then say, okay, no matter what, if you win your conference, you're in. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all, especially with the conferences being broke up into 2 different divisions. You could, in theory, have a team in one division that's 8-4, right? Playing a 12-0 team from the other division. Well, what if the 8-4 team beats that 12-0 team? Now the 8-4 team automatically gets in the playoff. So I disagree with that right off the jump. I don't think that winning your conference should automatically put you in a playoff, whether it's a 4, a 6, or an 8. I don't agree with that. And the problem is there is no way to take the objectivity, or no, I'm sorry. There's no way to take the subjectivity out of college football because there is just too many teams. The NFL has 32 teams. They break them into 2 conferences, the 3 divisions in each conference, right? It's very easy to work down to 8 or 12 teams when you're only starting with 32. That's easy to do. NFL plays their 16 games. You have you have your division winners. You have the conference winners get a bye. The next highest, the next 2 best records are your wild card teams. But yada yada yada. It's very easy to do when you're starting from 32 teams to just work down to 8, 10, or 12. That's easy. College football is starting with 130 something teams. You're never going to have a true playoff in college football because there are too many teams. It's just impossible. There's never going to be a way to really know, for just as example, there's never going to be a way to really know if Ohio State is better than Alabama this year. You're never going to really know that in college football. It's never going to happen. So it's always going to be subjective. It's always going to be a poll, a group of people, a computer, an algorithm, a formula. It's always going to be something that tells you who the best teams are. Always. There is no other way to do college football. And to me, you would ruin it if you did by just turning it into the NFL light. And I don't want that. You know, it matters. It matters that Ohio State lost to Iowa. That matters. And it should matter. If you go to an 8-team playoff and you just say if you win your conference, you're in, and then we're going to put the next 3 highest ranked teams in, then Ohio State would have got in whether, this year. Regardless, and the Iowa game would not have mattered. It would not have mattered at all. So I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about it. But anyway, I've been going on long enough. I'm going to end this now. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you thought, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day, too.